This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Right, Happy New Year. Welcome back to 2024. It's my first video of the year and the last bit of playing that I got to do in 2023. So I just wanted to kind of, do a little bit of a thing thinking about the modeler to buy in 2024. Now, what you're thinking is we don't really know which the modeler is to buy, and that's why I would say probably the best thing to do right now is to wait. We've had a few bits that have happened in 2023 that have, as much as anything, I think kind of solidified that things are kind of plateauing sort of at the moment. I'll go into a little bit of what I mean by that when we get to the more expensive stuff. But for now, I would say wait if you can. If you're never going to gig and you don't need to take a thing out live, I think right now is a really good time to make the most of plugins personally. And I think actually the experience of using plugins can be in many ways a little bit better than hardware anyway. So whether that be, checking out some of the neural DSP stuff or Mixwave, or maybe you already have Helix Native, I think that's a really good place to kind of stay and try and keep gas at bay for now. Also, if you're never playing live and you want a headphone experience, I think the best thing you can do for that is the Boss Waza Airs. I know in some regards they seem like a bit of a gimmick, but actually I've played these quite a lot leading up to Elodie's birth and since, and it's a really, really great headphone experience. Not all headphone experiences are equal. The Waza is unrivaled. Even good quality open back headphones that I've got don't get anywhere close to as satisfying an experience as the Waza Airs. And I've never really had to go into the app and tweak things again. I set it up once, you can plug in, once you've got it set up with your Bluetooth, play along with stuff. I found these to be really quite a useful tool. So if I was playing at home, volume was an issue. If I didn't need to record, the Wazas might be something I'd definitely look at. For people that are thinking they want to dip their toe into the modelling world, I think there's now a really good contender for your first thing to try, the Boss IR2, because I'm imagining that if you've not jumped into the modelling waters yet, you probably already have a pedal board. You're probably thinking, right, I want to give something a go, and it's typically been a little bit more expensive than it is now to try things like this. And I think for me, I found the Boss IR2 sound surprisingly good, partly I guess due to the Celestion IRs, but particularly the Plexi model on it I find really satisfying. I think you'll be able to get your hands on these for about £179 around that. I paid for mine, and I've been really impressed with it for that reason. I think this is a good candidate for people that are thinking, right, I maybe 2024 I want to give this modelling thing a try. And I've seen at least one person that did this and then was selling it because they thought, right, well, that's kind of convinced me that modelling could be a way forward, and they then ordered a Fractal FM9, which is kind of the polar opposite of this, but I guess they're within the modelling paradigm at least. Same sort of vein as the IR2, but I guess a little bit more on the premium side. I think folks really do like the Universal Audio stuff, so if you're someone who's like a Vox player primarily, or a Deluxe Reverb player, or a Marshall Plexi player, or what's the other one, a Tweed Fender, I think those are a pretty good plug and play experience. They are a little bit pricey, they don't have a headphone output or an effects loop, which this has both of those things, and can be an audio interface, so is kind of a bit more of a Swiss Army knife. But the Universal Audio stuff does sound pretty good, and James Santiago, who works for them, is a very, very clever guy, amazing player, and has great tone. It's just, yeah, I think there are cheaper options out there, but I think a lot of people are really happy with the Universal Audio stuff. Strymon Iridium as well in that category as well. For me, the best bang for buck that you're going to get if you do decide that menus and stuff are going to be a thing for you, I still think is the Line 6 HX Stomp. The reason I would get this over the Podgo would be for the parallel paths, and you have dual cabs available in here and dual amping. It's just a little bit more flexible. This is personally my favourite Line 6 product, and even if in 2024 or 2025 they came out with another Line 6 product, I think you get plenty of value out of this thing in general. I think the reason I'm kind of advocating waiting is because NAMM 2024 could bring new things. In any case, it looks like there's a few modelers on the market that are getting towards being maybe a little bit old, so we could see some new stuff in 2024. But yeah, HX Stomp. Also, I guess the Kemper Player is a candidate for, you know, kind of getting into the digital world without having to worry too much about modelling and dialing stuff in, because it's a profiler, right? For me, I felt like, though, the pricing is such that you might be able to go out and get a toaster or a stage for just a little bit more, and you get quite a lot more functionality, although it is, of course, bigger. So the Kemper Player, for people that are looking for something to put on their pedal board, I think a lot of people are going to really like that. Form factor wise, I think something like the IR2 or even a Universal Audio pedal is going to be possibly slightly superior, although for the Kemper, I think a load of people really, really, really love that for the amp sound. So Kemper Player could be a good candidate. About £620 in the UK. So I think they've priced it where it's just going to be a little bit of a juggle deciding whether you go for that or a second-hand actual Kemper, and then you could profile on that. Maybe. I don't know. Some thoughts on that. If you're really serious about the modelling stuff, I think the Fractal FM3 is a great candidate for something which is not quite as expensive as something like a Quad Cortex or a Tonemaster Pro or the full FM9, and you actually get an incredible amount for your money with the Fractal stuff. It's not the most friendly user interface, but the desktop editor is amazing, really good, and you also have so much depth in terms of algorithms, effects, amp models, you name it, and the most flexible foot switching going. The FM3, I think, would be a candidate for me as a good way to spend a chunk of money, but not the full chunk of money, and still get something that really does sound amazing. I think Fractal, top of the Christmas tree for authenticity, as well as, like I said, the most amount of everything. So if you're wanting the most Marshalls, the most Fenders, the most whatever, AC20s, Vox AC15s, everything that you could pretty much imagine in there, Dumbles, Trainwrecks, is in the Fractal world, even more so than the Line 6, which I think Line 6 is about the second most fully featured of the modelers, but even that doesn't have anywhere near as many as Fractal. So I think an FM3, oh, here it is. For those that are really thinking, right, I'm pretty convinced that I'm wanting a modeler that's going to be sounding good for many years and is going to have, you know, stuff that is going to rival any of the competitors for a long time. There's so much more in here already. They've got such a head start in terms of the amount of amps in there that I don't think any of the others are going to catch up. I'm not the biggest fan of Neural DSP, but I still think at the moment that one wins for form factor, as well as having both the profiling and the modelling part of the world kind of sewn up, as I think it's probably the most fly rig ready and has a really good kind of balance of size and power that we've not really seen anyone else come up with. The ToneMaster Pro has the kind of chips in there enough to be very powerful. It's quite a lot bigger than a quad Cortex, and I think for the moment, for me, I personally wouldn't buy one of those over a quad Cortex right now. They don't have the capture technology, and I think there has been some question marks around the authenticity of what's in there anyway, particularly when you think that the impedance stuff is within the cab block, and it looks like, well, basically go and watch some of Leon Todd's comparisons with it, and you can come to your own conclusions about which is doing a more authentic job out of the Line 6 HX Stomp, the Axe FX, the Quad Cortex, and the ToneMaster Pro. I think it's fairly glaring, and one of them stands out as sounding a little bit funny. But yeah, for me, the Quad Cortex, I think it's still got that touchscreen thing going on if you're looking for that, like the most modern feeling modeler. And as well as that, you've got that capture technology, which it takes just under 5 minutes to do a capture, and they do sound pretty good. I do kind of like that technology as someone who's spent a bit of time trying to get tones close to what I can get out of these amps from like a Helix or whatever. Having a quick way of doing that, I think, is a really good additional benefit to have. Having said all that, as I say, I think it's a good time to sort of just wait. For me, I don't have a gig until March, I think, so I'm just kind of sitting back and looking with interest at what may happen. I don't know anything more than you, and that is why I would say at the moment I feel like it's a good time to either buy something that might be a stopgap for now. You might fall in love with it, but maybe not. If you don't have gigs coming up, then a flagship might not be the way to go right now, and I don't think there's enough of a point of difference between some of the bigger modelers to make a leap right now, unless you go into the Fractal space and you decide, right, I'm going to kick all my money into this, and this is going to be where I live for a while. I think you could be totally happy there. For me, yeah, just Wazers, if you don't need to record. If you're thinking you might want to try this, an IR2 might be a good kind of gateway into modelling. Helix HX Stomp for good value stuff. The Hotone Ampero Stomp, I would say wait until they've sorted out their firmware, because it's just a little bit funny at the moment. There is apparently some stuff coming, but we don't really know. And yeah, an FM3 might be a really good bet if you're thinking, right, I'm thinking I want something pretty serious that is going to be really good for the future and also really good right now. It's going to take other companies years to catch up with Fractal still, I think. Let me know if you disagree with any of that in the comments. Let me know if you've got a favourite plugin that you think people should know about. Polychrome DSP is one that has been mentioned a bit that I've not checked out yet, but that might be one. But thank you for stopping by. I was using Tonex, the Dumble collection, in the introduction there. Just an example of one of the plugins that I think could, potentially be pretty useful for a bunch of people. I think Tonex has lost a little bit of steam now that the Kemper player is here, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for stopping by. Has anyone also tried Polybebo running the Neural Amp modeler, or what's the other one called? Mod Dwarf. Let me know if you've got that working successfully. Sam, I think you have. Happy New Year. See you later. Oh, also I've got some t-shirts available. The idea with this is that I'm going to have a merch shop of stuff that I'd actually wear that doesn't say John Cordy on it. So yeah, check that out if you want. Happy New Year. Cheers.